Welcome to my channel. Today I am here with a new recipe. Today I have a liquid plant food recipe that is very important in orchids care, which is effective in root rot, especially in diseases such as fungi, and can help orchids grow healthier and more beautiful. Today I'm going to talk about the benefits of cinnamon for orchids. I want to show you where we can use cinnamon plants. As you see, there can be splitting in the leaves of orchids due to overdrying. Thanks to the antioxidant in cinnamon, it helps in repairing these wounds. This prevents any infection that may occur from wounds. I want to show you how we can use this. Look, you see, I will pour cinnamon on this part. Not very little, not much. Only this will help to close the wound, but be careful not to get into the root part, or it will prevent it from getting air. Another benefit is that I have shown you in my previous videos. Look at the knuckles in particular when we pour it on the open areas after pruning. It prevents the orchid from losing more water and prevents any infection that may occur in the orchid branch. I poured cinnamon over the cut area like this. We can use cinnamon in these two important processes. In addition, I will prepare a liquid plant food that we can use cinnamon. But there are important points that we should pay attention to while preparing this. Because it is powder as a cinnamon structure, it must be paid attention in its use. For the orchids, I pour 1 liter of water into the part. I used 1 liter of purified water. If you want, you can use the tap water after resting it. Look, about 1 teaspoon in 1 liter of water. I don't add more. I just add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. It should be powdered cinnamon. I turn the heat on and keep it on until the water is at the boiling point. Then when it comes to boiling point, I'll cover the gold and let it cool. I put it on the stove. When the cinnamon water starts to boil, I will immediately turn off the heat. I'll cool the cinnamon water until it reaches room temperature. Yes, enough waiting water is now at room temperature. You can see like this. There was sediment under it. Now I will strain to separate it from this residue. Here's how I'm using a filter. And look like this. I drain the cinnamon water, and there are powdered cinnamon residues under it. I want to show this in particular. Look, the water I need here for me is just cinnamon water, but we don't use cinnamon residues. This is important. Look, I want to show you the underlying residue. If we had poured this powdered cinnamon directly into its part, what kind of problem we would have encountered, since this powdered cinnamon would stick to the roots of the orchid. It would prevent the orchid roots from getting air. This would not be good for orchids either, because the orchid root must be airborne. If this powdered cinnamon residue sticks, it will suffocate the orchid as it will stop the air of the horn, and this will cause the formation of some harmful bacteria, and then the emergence of problems, such as fly and insect infestation. I watched it in some videos about it. There are some known mistakes in using cinnamon powder. I definitely want you to pay attention on this issue. You have to filter it this way, and you only need to use its water. And again, I want to tell you that this water should neither be too hot nor too cold when watering the orchid, because orchids do not like very hot water and very cold water. The water must be warm. When you touch it with your finger, it should have reached room temperature. We do not do any more heat, as the orchid roots are delicate, so that the orchid roots are not damaged. He will react against cold and very hot. It causes rotting on the roots of the orchid. Therefore, it should always be at room temperature when watering orchids. You need to pay attention to this. Look inside the flower part, you see. The orchid's roots look very green. The root of this orchid has begun to rot, which means that any fungal disease has begun to occur. Any bacteria or microbe have started to form. If we don't treat this early, if we do not take early precautions, this kind of rot will immediately infect other roots. This means that while the roots of the orchid are healthy for 1 week, we can see that all the roots are decayed immediately after 1 week. This also seems to me too much in the comments. Look, now I want to show you a very healthy orchid. As you can see, the roots are very healthy, as you can see the leaves. It is now time to water, as you have seen. I'm seeding my flower. In this powdered cinnamon water, a healthy orchid should stay for a maximum of 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, you will see that the already grey roots turn green. But if the orchid is not healthy, I recommend keeping it for 20 minutes for this type of orchid, because this cinnamon water will treat the roots of the orchid. The more you wait inside, and then the more it will already help the orchid become healthier. While my orchid is watered in this way, I would like to make a very important point for you. I've also seen some users. I saw them pouring the powdered cinnamon directly onto the air roots of the orchid into this upper layer. I definitely do not recommend this to you. I am telling you this based on my previous experiences. If you keep the powdered cinnamon in this way and pour it on the upper air roots of the orchid, that is, this upper layer, the orchid will fly, and then it can go as far as the insect and fungus, because this prevents the roots of the orchid from taking air. That's why I definitely do not recommend you guys. Do not pour the cinnamon powder directly on the aerial roots of the orchid. Do not pour it directly onto the soil. This is the best method you can use. If you only want to use orchid as a liquid plant food while using orchids, how long can we use cinnamon powder? You can use cinnamon powder once every 3 months. I do not recommend using it earlier than 3 months. Consider cinnamon powder as a natural herbal remedy at the same time, so you don't need to use it very often. You can use it every 3 months at the earliest. I recommend using cinnamon powder especially in winter. Why use it in summer and winter? Look, now the weather is very cold and the weather is cold. So we are trying to help only in winter to prevent the drying of this substrate and further rotting on the root. That's why you can use cinnamon powder this way. I hope this video has been useful for you. If you liked my video, do not forget to click the like button immediately and subscribe. If you are not subscribed to my channel, and if you want to be notified of my new videos like this, don't forget to click the ringtone in the right corner and turn it on. Do not forget to comment a lot. You can definitely write your questions in the comment section. I'm definitely trying to return to your questions. And if you are applying the methods I have described, please write them in the comment section. Because if you write, other users will see how useful the applications we have made or not and get an idea accordingly. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and stay healthy.